All right, let's start off by saying Barak Yahawah, Bahashem, Yahawashi, Bahashem, Rawchaa, Qadash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is another BTTB, which is an acronym, back to the basics. The kingdom of Yasharahla divided. Now, Yasharahla is the Hebrew way of saying Israel. It's a compound word, Yah meaning he, Shar meaning prince, and Allah meaning God. He is a prince of God. He is a prince with the Most High, or loosely translated, sons of God, or sons of God. And pretty much, this lesson will be centered around the division of the nation of Israel. And it's important to understand this, because if you don't understand this, then you won't understand when the scriptures speak about, Judah and Israel. Why does it keep switching up and changing? And sometimes it'll say Ephraim, sometimes it'll say Judah, so on and so forth. And the reason why is because the kingdom was divided after King Solomon. So Lord's will, we're going to tackle that. I'm just going to try to hit some, some main points. And then you, as a new member, this is for the new members, you as a new member would have to go back and read the chapter we're going to go through, and go and read the chapters after that, leading to all of the different separations of the kingdom. Now, the priests, which were the Levites, they didn't have a land because they were mingled among all the tribes, and the tribes would give them the best lands in the suburbs. All right, so they didn't have an inheritance, because their inheritance was being the priests, and every tribe had Levites in them. But then after the split, there came a point where Jeroboam, which was the head or the king of the northern kingdom, he kicked all of the Levites out and sent them back to Judah, back to the southern kingdom. And then he brought up the lowest of the low to be priests, all right, that weren't even of the tribe of Levi, because he didn't want the people to join back to Rehoboam, which was King Solomon's son, who took over the throne and over the southern kingdom. But that didn't work out so well, because you did had a handful of the northern kingdom that went back with Judah and remained with them, even up until the days of Yahawashi. That's why when you read about Anna, she was of the tribe of Asher. Okay, that's why we say that there was a sprinkle of the northern kingdom among the southern kingdom, even back then during the time of Yahawashi. But the majority of Israelites that were back there in the land of Israel and scattered throughout Pontus, Galatia, Asia, and Europe and all of that were of the southern kingdom. But you did have some of the northern kingdom there, but just not a whole lot, because the majority of them were over this side of the world. So you see here a picture before you. The northern kingdom is ripening in iniquity. The southern kingdom is not far behind them. And this is exactly what happened, because the very first kingdom to fall was the northern kingdom. All right. Then the southern kingdom followed behind. So you have here Israel, 10 tribes. The capital is Samaria. Chief tribe is Ephraim. All right. So the Ephraimites became the head tribe over the northern kingdom, because what we're going to read is Jeroboam, who was an Ephraimite. He was given the power over the northern kingdom. And it says here, Judah, capital Jerusalem, chief tribe Judah. All right. So let's get into it. This is 1 Kings 11:1. This is Solomon turns from the Most High, and this is what caused the division in the nation, when King Solomon started to worship idols, because he had 1,000 women, 700 princesses of Israel, and the other 300 wives were heathen women. They were Moabites and Edomites and Hamites and so on and so forth. Hamite women, inside joke. So 1 Kings 11:1. But King Solomon loved many strange women together with the daughters of Pharaoh. Women, because the daughters of Pharaoh were who? Egyptians, Mizraim. Women of the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Zidonians, and Hittites. Right? So he took women out of all of these nations. Of the nations concerning which the Lord Yahawah said unto the children of Israel, you shall not go into them, neither shall they come in unto you, for surely they will turn away your heart after their gods. Solomon clave unto these in love. Now, can you have concubines? Yes. But the problem was with Jake back then was that they married these heathen women, because Jake, get a little, get that feeling after they pop a woman, and they wanted to marry them, and they wanted to be like the other nations. That's why when you go to during the time of Nehemiah, you had Israelite men laying down with these heathen women, and their children were learning the customs and languages of the other nations instead of learning their own customs. And that's why Nehemiah and them, they got mad at Jake back then. All right, now when it says that they separated the wives and their children, that doesn't mean that they separated the children that the Israelite men had with those women. They separate because those women came into the marriage, so-called marriage, with baggage, and those are the ones that got sent away. Okay, and that's another lesson. It says, and he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines, and his wives turned away his heart. So they turned away his heart, and he started worshiping their gods. He started building temples to their gods, so on and so forth. So in King Solomon's old age, as wise as he was, he went off. But it was all set up that way. It had to go down that way. So now we jump to the 9th verse. And the Lord Yahawah was angry with Solomon, because his heart was turned from the Lord, power of Israel, which had appeared unto him twice, and had commanded him concerning this thing, that he should not go after other gods, but he kept not that which the Lord commanded. Wherefore the Lord said unto Solomon, for as much as this is done of thee, and thou hast not kept my covenant and my statutes, which I commanded thee, I will surely rend the kingdom from thee. See, so the Lord ripped the kingdom away from him, and will give it to thy servant. Notwithstanding, in thy days I will not do it for David thy father's sake, but I will rend it out of the hand of thy son. And King Solomon's son was Rehoboam, whose mother was an Ammonite. So the Lord, did not curse King Solomon out for having a son with an Ammonite woman, and he didn't call him a mamzer, because you have these demons in Israel that say that if your father is an Israelite and your mother is a heathen, then you're a mamzer. No, it's the other way around. A mamzer, which is a Hebrew word mamzar, which means bastard, is a heathen father that lays down with an Israelite woman and has children with that Israelite woman. That's a mamzer. But if an Israelite man lays down with a heathen woman and they have a child, that child is not a mamzer. He's an Israelite. For you D-heads out there, you know what I want to say, D-I-C-K heads. Verse 26, and Jeroboam the son of Nebat, an Ephrathite of Zerida, Solomon's servant, whose mother's name was Zeruiah, a widow woman, even he lifted up his hand against the king. Yeah, because after that, King Solomon went off, the Lord raised up adversaries against him. He raised up Hadad the Edomite. He raised up another individual out of Syria, so on and so forth. So it says, and this was the cause that he lifted up his hand against the king. Solomon built Milo and repaired the breaches of the city of David his father. And the man Jeroboam was a mighty man of valor. And Solomon, seeing the young man that he was industrious, that's that Puerto Rican ingenuity. Inside joke. That's that Puerto Rican ingenuity, baby. So King Solomon saw that. He said, man, I got to put this cat to work. He made him ruler over all the charge of the house of Joseph. And that's heavy that he made him ruler over the charge of the house of Joseph, because eventually he would actually, the Ephraimites would actually become the head of those tribes. And you could read about that in Deuteronomy, the 33rd chapter, which goes into the breakdown of the 12 tribes, which, by the way, if you go to IUIC, they'll charge you $74 for, the 12 tribes breakdown, but they're so merciful that you don't have to come out of pocket all $74 at once, so you don't break your pocket. All you have to do is send 4 payments of $18.74, and you too can have the 12 tribe breakdown without breaking your pockets. Oh man, my Lord. All right, so it says, and it came to pass at that time when Jeroboam went out of Jerusalem that the prophet Ahijah the Shilonite found him in the way, and he had clad himself with a new garment, and they two were alone in the field. And Ahijah caught the new garment that was on him, meaning on Jeroboam, and rent it in what? 12 pieces. And those 12 pieces are representation of the 12 tribes. And he said to Jeroboam, take thee 10 pieces, for thus saith the Lord Yahawah, the power of Israel, behold, I will rend the kingdom out of the hand of Solomon, and will give thee 10 tribes, and I will give 10 tribes, and will give 10 tribes to thee. So we're witnessing now in prophecy or in history the rending or the breaking up of the kingdom of Israel, because you had 12 tribes, and the 12 tribes were split into two. This is why you have the southern kingdom, as we see here, and the northern kingdom. Okay, the southern kingdom being ruled by Judah, the capital Jerusalem, the northern kingdom being ruled by Ephraim, the capital Samaria. Okay, so when you see Samaria or Ephraim, sometimes Israel is speaking about the northern kingdom. When you see Judah, Jerusalem, and such, it's speaking about the southern kingdom. All right, so going back to 1 Kings 11:32, but he shall have one tribe for my servant's sake, David's sake. Yeah, that's King Solomon, because during this time, or prior to this time, Benjamin, had a beef with Judah, because King Saul, which was the second king of Israel, yes, I said second, but he was the first to be coronated, but he was the second king in Israel, because the first king in Israel was Moses. Let's prove that real quick, real hot like quick. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 33. And let's read 1. And this is the blessing wherewith Moses, the man of the Most High, blessed the children of Israel before his death, and he gave them. This goes into the 12 tribes breakdown, which for a low payment, 4 low payments of $18.74, you also can have the 12 tribes breakdown from the IUIC. And let's jump down to the 4th verse. Sorry, 5th verse. And he, meaning Moses, was king in Jeshurun when the heads of the people and the tribes of Israel were gathered together. So he was the first king of Israel. But the official king that was coronated was King Saul, which was of the tribe of Benjamin. So when King David took over the throne, the Benjaminites had a problem with that. All right? Most of them anyway. So back in 1 Kings 11:32, but he shall have one tribe for my servant David's sake, and for Jerusalem's sake, the city which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel, because that they have forsaken me, and have worshipped Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Sidonians, Chemosh, the god of the Moabites, and Milcom, the god of the children of Ammon, and have not walked in my ways to do that which is right in mine eyes, and to keep my statutes and my judgments, as David his father. Howbeit I will not take the whole kingdom out of his hand, but I will make him prince all the days of his life for David my servant's sake, whom I chose, because he kept my commandments and my statutes. But I will take the kingdom out of his son's hand, and will give it unto thee, even 10 tribes. And that's how the kingdom became split. All right. And we're going to read a little more of this, but you can read this chapter, and you can start 1 Kings 11 and read forward, and you'll see the different kings of Judah that ruled, different kings of Israel that ruled, so on and so forth, and all the dynamics that took place, and the wars and everything of that nature. And from that point on, there was a staunch, hatred between the tribes. Not all of them, but in most cases. And unto his son will I give one tribe, that David my servant may have a light away always before me in Jerusalem, the city which I have chosen me to put my name there. And I will take thee, and thou shalt reign according to all that thy soul desireth, and shall be king over Israel. And it shall be, if thou wilt hearken unto all that I command thee, and wilt walk in my ways, and do that is right in my sight, to keep my statutes and my commandments, as David my servant did, that I will be with thee, and build thee a sure house, as I built for David, and will give Israel unto thee. And I will for this afflict the seed of David, but not forever. Solomon sought therefore to kill Jeroboam, just like King Saul sought to kill David. And Jeroboam arose and fled into Egypt unto Shishak, king of Egypt, and was in Egypt unto the death of Solomon. And Israel was always running into Egypt and into the interiors of Africa, as a refuge to get away from whatever danger there was. So like I said, you can continue to read on the rest of this chapter, read the whole chapter, go into the next chapter, go through Kings, and you'll get more insight. Then when you get into 2 Kings, the 17th chapter, that's when the northern kingdom was first ripped out of the land, out of their habitation here. All right, out of this land, Samaria being the capital. And they were brought up northerly, right, northeasterly, and they were brought into the land of Assyria. In the land of Assyria, they took counsel because they were in captivity, hard bondage under the Assyrians, and our forefathers took counsel that they would go to a place where never mankind dwelt, to keep the laws, statutes, and commandments, which we didn't keep in this land. And that's how the northern kingdom ended up over here in what was later called the Americas, thousands of years later. Okay, now let's move on. Now we're going to go into Zechariah 11 and 4. Thus saith the Lord, Yahawah Bashem my power, feed the flock of the slaughter. Who was the flock of the slaughter? Israel, pretty much. Because we went into captivity under every nation. And there has not been a nation that has suffered more as the nation of Israel. I'm talking about the real Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, and wherever they may be scattered around the world, whose possessors slay them, which is Esau, and hold themselves not guilty. Right, because ain't nobody paid for slavery and captivity that the southern kingdom suffered on this side of the world. Ain't nobody paid for the captivity and the suffering that the northern kingdom suffered on this side of the world prior to the southern kingdom being brought here. And they that seldom say, blessed be the Lord, for I am rich, and their own shepherds pity them not. Yeah, because you have these poverty pimps, in the pulpit, in the churches, that don't give a shit about the flock, because they're hirelings. That's why they divine for money. They say, well, the Lord sent me, and the Lord said this to me, and the Lord, and just give me your money. It says, for I will no more pity the inhabitants of the land, saith the Lord, but lo, I will deliver them in every one into his neighbor's hand, and into the hand of his king, and they shall smite the land, and out of their hand I will not deliver them. Right. And I will feed the flock of the slaughter, even you, O poor of the flock. And I took unto me 2 staffs. This is the key here. The one I called beauty, and the other I called bands. And I fed the flock. Now, let's jump down to the 12th verse. I'm sorry, the 10th verse. And I took my staff, even beauty, and cut it asunder. Matter of fact, you know what? Before we read that, let's go to the word beauty. Yeah, two staffs. One was called beauty. The other one was called bands. Beauty is na'im, kindness, pleasantness, delightfulness, beauty, favor, because that staff represented the Lord's mercy towards us. Right? Delightfulness, symbolic name of one of the 2 staffs, pleasantness, right? So it went from pleasantness, which he broke, to unpleasantness, and then the other one, the other staff he called bands. The word bands is chabal. A cord, rope, territory, band, company. A rope cord, a measuring cord, a line, measured portion, a band, a company. So pretty much right here, union, because that's what a band is. A band is a union. Like those of you that seen those notebooks, with that metal spiral at the end, on the corner of it, on the back of it, to hold all the pages together. That's what it's there for. Those bands hold those pages together so that they don't fall all over the place. So this band, or this union, was the nation of Israel as one, being held together by the law, statutes, and commandments of Yahawah through the power of the Lord, Yahawah. So when we go to the 10th verse, and I took my staff, even beauty, and cut it asunder, that I might break my covenant which I had made with all the people. So this covenant, which was what gave us favor in the sight of the Lord, Yahawah, he broke it. And what happened? We went from being the most beloved, the most honored among the nations, to the worst, and to the most oppressed among all of these other nations. Right now, when we go down to the 14th verse, then I cut asunder mine other staff, even bands, that I might what? Break the brotherhood between Judah and Israel. So that's what happened. There was the breaking of the brotherhood between the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom happened. And that's why there was tensions against the two of them. Great tension. Because at one point Ephraim was the head, but eventually it was taken away and given to Judah. When you go to 1 Chronicles, the 5th chapter, the first tribe, which was the head tribe, not the head tribe, but the firstborn, which was Reuben, they had the head position because the inheritance would always go to the firstborn. Let's go to, I believe that's Exodus 13 and 2. I'll start at 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, sanctify unto me all the firstborn, whatsoever openeth the womb among the children of Israel, both of man and of beast, it is mine. And the birthright will go to the firstborn. And Reuben was the firstborn, but then when he lay with Jacob's concubine, that was taken away from him and given to Ephraim. But then it says that the birthright is not to be reckoned by genealogy, because it was stripped from Ephraim and given to Judah. And that's why Ephraim had a long rivalry between the tribe of Ephraim and the tribe of Judah. And you see that, between so-called Negroes and so-called Puerto Ricans. There's a rivalry there, but they don't understand what it is. They think it's a color barrier or a language barrier. It's not that. It's much deeper than that. It goes back to, the reason that the northern kingdom, or the head position, was stripped from the northern kingdom of the tribe of Ephraim and given to Judah. So there's a much more spiritual, reason for that, which they don't understand. All right, so now moving on, this is Isaiah chapter 11:11. It says the restored remnant, because now the Lord is restoring the remnant of Israel. Okay, it says Isaiah 11:11, and it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant, or the remainders, or the dispersed, which the dispersed are, there's a remnant among the dispersed, which are the elect of his people, which are the Israelites, which shall be left from Assyria, and from Egypt, and from Pathros, and from Cush, and from Elam, and from Shinar, and from Hamath, and from the islands of the sea. And he shall set up an ensign for the nations. Now, what is the ensign? The ensign is the Bible, the truth of the Bible. The word for ensign is nas, or nas. And pretty much nas means banner, or banner. Something lifted up, standard, signal. And when you go back to Exodus, it speaks about, it has the term Yahawah Nasi. Yahawah Nasi is Yahawah Nasayah, I believe it is, which means Yahweh's banner, because the Most High's name is that banner. It's the beginning of that banner. then you have his son Yahawashi, and then you have the rest of this truth. With the 12 tribes chart, and that's why that 12 tribes chart is very important. When you go out there to speak, it's very important to have this 12 tribes chart out there, because this 12 tribes chart is what breaks down all of the tribes and who they are today, their ancient names and their names that they're called today. And this chart is an attraction, because it's a conversation piece. You see most of the time when people are out there and they walk by, they'll look at the sign and they'll inquire about the sign, or they might read the sign and move on, but then a lot of times they'll inquire about the sign, like, what do you mean by this? That goes back to prophecy, and that's why it's important to have that 12 tribe sign out there. So going back, Isaiah 11 and 12, and he shall set up an ensign for the nations and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, right? Because we've been outcasted. Let's look up this word outcast. There's another scripture in Isaiah 61 which speaks about the outcast. The word there is dacha, to push, thrust, chase, overflow, totter, soar, drive away, or out. So we were driven out, or we were outcasted. Totter is like you have dominoes, right? And you set up the dominoes, and when you hit the first one, the rest of them start to fall. That's a totter. That's a tottering effect. If you have a fence, a chain link fence, and it's not, set that, grounded properly, when you hit one, it's going to knock the rest of them down. It's going to totter. So that's what the outcasts mean. And matter of fact, since we mentioned outcasts, let's go to Isaiah 61. And I'm so glad the spirit of Yahawah jumped on Elder Apostle Tahar to say that about going back to the basics, because that's the key. The basics are the key. Let me just type in outcast. And eventually, okay, I thought it was in Isaiah 61. Let me see something. Just bear with me 1 second. It's Isaiah 56 and 8. Okay. All right. So, going back, Jeremiah 30 and 17, for I will restore health unto thee, and I will heal thee of thy wounds. So now how is the Lord healing us? Through the word. The word is what's healing us. Let's go real quick to Psalms. This word that we hear, this truth, is a healing ointment. It heals our soul. That's why Yahawashi said, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Psalms 107 and 20, he sent his word and healed them and delivered them from their destructions. And that's what's happening right now. The Lord is healing us mentally with his words, and eventually he will deliver us physically. But we have to be restored to health first. And that process is through what we're going through right now. Jeremiah 30:17, for I will restore health unto thee, and I will heal thee of thy wounds. This is why the scriptures speak about sound doctrine. We have to continue in the sound doctrine. Otherwise, if the doctrine becomes corrupted, the person becomes corrupted. It's like you have a medicine, a potent herb, but then that herb is tainted by some type of poison. Guess what? The herb is no good no more. It's no good no more. So the doctrine has to remain sound. Saith Yahawah Bashem Yahawashi, because they called thee an outcast, saying, this is Zion, whom no man seeketh after, right? Because remember, it says that we would not be reckoned among the nations. Let's get that real quick. Numbers 23 and 23. Surely there is no enchantment. I'm sorry, not 23, 23. 23 and 9. This is Balaam speaking. For from the top of the rocks I see him, and from the hills I behold him. Right? This is he was looking down on Israel, and he wanted to put a curse on them because Balak, the king of Moab, he hired him pretty much to put a curse on us, on us back then. It says, lo, the people shall dwell alone, because we are not to be joined to any nation. You have to understand what the word saint means. The saints are the Israelites. You can read Psalms, the 148th chapter. The word saint means holy, or to make holy. Now, how will we, and also the word saint means to be separate or separated. So how did we become separated? Well, the Lord, out of all nations, he chose our forefathers, gave them the laws, statutes, and commandments, which separated us from all other nations. That's why he didn't do that with the other nations. The other nations were left to their own devices. They would worship the sun, the moon, the stars, and whatever else, they worshipped. But they were never given a set of rules and regulations or instructions to guide them, to separate them from everybody else. He only gave that to the nation of Israel. And that's why we dwell alone. The other nations intermingle with each other. We're not supposed to do that. Now, can a man have a concubine? Of course, it's your plaything. But you're not supposed to marry them. You're not supposed to take them serious. That's just your play toy. You GMS, you guys are going off. All right, man. Let's see a fine ass, Moabite or Ammonite or one of them other nations come around you with them big hips and, slender waist and all of that, with some big knockers come and strip before you. Let's see you resist. It says, and shall not be what? Reckoned among the nations. So we will not be recognized among the nations. We will not be, in that. That's why when you go to Psalms, the 83rd chapter, it speaks about the nations coming together in a conspiracy to make the name of Israel be no more in remembrance. Now we know that that's not talking about just to extinguish the name of Israel, period, because you still have that name floating around. You still read it in the scriptures. The land is still called after that name. But it means that it would not be recognized, or it would not be, it would be forgotten among our people, which goes back to the curses. Because you got this demon vocab talking about, show me the curses where it says you were going to, not remember who you were or something along those lines. Well, the 36th chapter, I believe, it says that we will be called a proverb and a byword. A proverb and a byword means you will be called something else other than what you are. Nigger, spook, spick, wetback, black, African American, Afro American, Puerto Rican, Cuban, Mexican, Haitian, Dominican, Those are bywords and proverbs. Those are not the true names of our people. So the word there is chashab, to think, plan, esteem, calculate, invent, make a judgment, imagine, count. We will not be counted among the nations, accounted, reckoned, computed. See, we were esteemed. So we would not be recognized among these nations. All right, so going back to Isaiah 11 and 12, and he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. The envy also of Ephraim shall depart, right? And that's why you have northern kingdom, beginning with the tribe of Ephraim, that are joined to this, what they call the One West doctrine, and they're not at odds with Judah. They honor Judah, they laud Judah because they know that Yahawah and Yahawashi are Judites. Well, what? God is Judah. The Most High is Judah. Come on, man. All right, let's prove that. Let's prove that. Don't just talk about it. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 48 and verse Let me see if I can find the. Verse 1. Hear ye this, O house of Jacob. Who is Jacob? Jacob is the father of the 12 tribes of Israel. Sometimes the nation of Israel is called Jacob, which are called by the name of Israel, and are come forth out of the waters of Judah. So how in the hell can Jacob come out of Judah when Judah came out of Jacob? Judah was Jacob's fourth-born son. So how could it be that he came out of, the waters of Judah, or the nation of Israel came out of the waters of Judah? Because the Most High himself is a Judite. Yahawashi himself is a Judite. When you go to Hebrews 7 and 14, it says, for it is evident that our Lord sprang out of Judah. And as he told Philip, he said, he that have seen me have seen the Father. And Yahawashi is the what? Let's go to Hebrews chapter 1. And verse 3. Who being the brightness of his glory and the express image of his person. So Yahawashi is the express image of the Father. In other words, he looks just like the Father. He's a splitting image of him. They're two separate spirits, but they agree in one. So Yahawashi came out of the tribe of Judah. The Most High is also, if the Lord was to come on the earth, he would be of the tribe of Judah. Not that he will, but if he were to come on the earth, he would be of the tribe of Judah. So going back to Isaiah 11 and 13, the envy also of the envy also of Ephraim shall depart, and the adversaries of Judah shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not envy Judah, and Judah shall not vex Ephraim. All right, so that's the point, because the Lord is bringing the tribes back together. When we go to the book of Ezekiel 37, right, it speaks about the valley of the dry bones. And the valley of the dry bones represents, as we jump down to the 11th verse, and then he said unto me, Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. And now why were they bones? Why were they in graves? Why were they in graves? Because they departed from the way. Proverbs, is that 21? Yep, and 16. The man that wandereth out of the way of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead. See, that's why the Lord had to suffer us to be put into graves, to give us back our identity. He brought us back to life. How did he bring us back to life? Through this word. Okay, the word is what resurrects us. So going back to Isaiah 37:11, then he said unto me, Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. Behold, they say our bones are dried and our hope is lost. We are cut off for our parts. Okay, now we're just going to jump down. Matter of fact, no, I'm going to read on. Therefore prophesy and say unto them, thus saith the Lord power. Hold up. There's a scripture. Woo! Barak Romans 11:15. For if the casting away of them be the reconciling of the world, what shall the receiving of them be but life from the dead? Life from the dead. So we were mentally dead. We read that in Proverbs 21:16, right? So Ezekiel 37:12. Therefore prophesy and say unto them, thus saith the Lord power, behold, O my people, I will open your graves. Why? Because the nations are not going to open the graves. Revelation 11:8, and their dead bodies, which is spiritually dead, shall lie in the street of the great city, America, Babylon the Great, which spiritually is called Sodom, Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. How was Yahawashi crucified here? They crossed him out, put up the image of, Caesar Borgia / Serapis Christus, or Serapis Crispy, as we call him. And they of the people and kindreds and tongues and nations, which are the other nations, shall see their dead bodies 3 days and a half. This goes into prophecy. And shall not suffer their dead bodies to be put in graves. In other words, they will not put Jake's mind at ease or at rest. like the Most High would do. Yahawah Bashem Yahawashi. That's what we read back in Ezekiel 37:12. Therefore prophesy and say unto them. So when he prophesied, he used the words of Yahawah Bashem Yahawashi as we use the words today. And when the word goes out, those that are part of the elect, they will receive the word, and then they'll come out of that dead state that they were in and come back into life again. Thus saith the Lord power, behold, O my people, I will open your graves and cause you to come up out of your graves and bring you into the land of Israel. So what is an example of the graves? Being called Negro, Latino, being called African American, being called Jamaican, Trinidadian, and so on and so forth, being called Brazilian, Puerto Rican, Mexican, Cuban, being called, Haitian. These are all graves. And the Lord brought you out of those graves by putting your true nationality into your mind. This is why we have the 12 tribes chart. With the names that we're called today and the ancient names, going back to the scriptures and the ones that were given to our forefathers of each particular or prospective tribe. Ezekiel 37:13, and you shall know that I am the Lord Yahawah Bashem Yahawashi when I have opened your graves, O my people, and brought you up out of your graves, and shall put my spirit in you. See, because we now, at one point, now we have the spirit of Yahawah Bashem Yahawashi, but at one point we had the spirit of Esau on us. We thought that they were the Most High. We thought that they were God. We thought that they held, the answers to everything. Let's go to Isaiah chapter, nope, not 20. Is it 26? Isaiah 26. Nope, that's not it. 10. Isaiah 10. Isaiah 10 and 20. And it shall come to pass in that day that the remnant of Israel and such are escaped of the house of Judah. So now when you read scriptures like this, that it separates Israel and Jacob, now you understand why. Because there was a separation in the nation. Going back to King Solomon, going back to Jeroboam, going back to Rehoboam. And if you go back and read through that history, you'll get even a more clearer understanding of everything when you read stuff like this. Shall no more again stay upon him that smote them. Who smote us? Esau. And what does it mean to stay upon them? Meaning rely on them for anything. But shall stay up because when you go to the curses, check this out. When you go to the curses, Deuteronomy 28, and I believe it's 48. Yep. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and what? And in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. So in the want of all things, meaning we would rely on him for everything. But there's going to come a point where we're no longer going to stay upon them that smote us, but shall stay upon the Lord Yahawah Bashem Yahawashi, the Holy One of Israel, in truth. Because it's the truth that's going to set us free, mentally free. That's why it's important to free your mind and your ass to follow. All right? And that's the main point. You can read more of this. There's some good stuff there. So back in Ezekiel 37:14, it shall put my spirit in you, and you shall live, and I shall place you in your own land. Then we're not supposed to go there now. The Lord's going to bring us there. Then shall you know that I, the Lord, have spoken it and performed it, saith Yahawah Bashem Yahawashi. Now we're getting into some more meat. The word of the Lord came again unto me, saying, Moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick, write upon it for Judah and for the children of Israel, his companions. Now you understand what this means, because the nation of Israel was split into two. So he said, take one stick, put it for Judah and his companions, which is Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, right? And take another stick two sticks, and write upon it for Joseph the stick of Ephraim. Because when you see Joseph, Joseph is synonymous with Ephraim. Sometimes you'll see the tribe of Joseph. Sometimes you see Ephraim. Sometimes you see Israel. It all depends on the scripture. But it all goes back to the tribe of Ephraim, and it goes back to the northern kingdom. As you can see here, you have the northern kingdom, which was the chief tribe was what? Ephraim. It says, and for all the house of Israel, his companions, which were the 10 tribes, and joined them one to another into one stick, right? That's the, that's the one stick right here. Matter of fact, when you go back, Judah, Benjamin, Levi, Simeon, Zebulon, Ephraim, Manasseh, Gad, Reuben, Naphtali, Asher, and all of the names that we're being called today: Negroes, West Indians, Haitians, Dominicans, Cubans, so on and so forth. All right, from the Negroes down to the so-called Mexicans, so-called Negroes to the so-called Mexicans, and everything in between. So it says, and join them one to another into one stick, and they shall become one in thine hand. And that's why we have the 12 tribes chart. It becomes one in our hand. That's why it's important for you to have this sign out there. Excuse me, because it's part of the prophecy to gather the children of Israel. It says, and when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, wilt thou not show us what thou meanest by these? Say unto them, thus saith the Lord power, behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel his fellows, and will put them with him, even with the stick of Judah, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in mine hand. And that's why you see the truth. You see so-called Negroes and so-called Latinos, so-called Native American Indians vibing with each other. Because when you go back to like the 60s and 70s, 80s, you always had, even now, you always had rivalry between the so-called Negroes, Latino tribes, and, sometimes the Gadite tribes and, Reubenite tribes. There's always war against each other. But when you come into this, there's peace. Why? Because the Lord is breaking that. And at the same time, when you go back to the 60s, the 70s, and 80s, you had a lot of alliances between Judah and Ephraim, Issachar, so on and so forth. This is why you had the Black Panthers, the Blackstone Rangers. You had, the Young Lords. You had the Brown Berets, and you had many other different revolutionary groups among, Judah, Ephraim, Issachar. And when because Judah was the first one to establish that, just like they were the first one to set up, this truth, because they are the head tribe. And when Ephraim and Issachar and them started setting up the Young Lords and the Brown Berets, and what they did was Judah helped them, organize their thing better. They helped them and showed them how to do certain things to make it better for them. And then there was even certain instances where you had Judite men marrying, Ephraimite women, and vice versa. Because that was the beginning stages of the bones coming back together with the bones, but they just didn't have breath in them, because they didn't understand that they were the Israelites and the reason why they were in that condition. But they understood and knew that they had a problem. And the main problem, or the main culprit, was Esau. And they understood they all had the same enemy. So those are the beginning stages. Why? Because the Lord would eventually bring them into one. It says, and the sticks whereon thou writest shall be in thine hand before their eyes. That's why we have the 12 tribes chart out there on the streets. You're not going to be able to have a 12 tribes chart, and I mean, you could do it when you do your sit downs, but the main place is out there in the streets, on the main concourse, the broadways, the highways, the hedges. All right, it says, and say unto them, thus saith the Lord Yahawah, behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whither they be gone, and will gather them on every side, and bring them into their own land. And I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel. So right now, we're going through the preparation stages of the kingdom. Because in the kingdom of heaven, you will have all 12 tribes, not just one. When you go to Revelation chapter 7, it speaks about the 144,000, right? Revelation 74. And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and there were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel. And it lists all 12. Okay? So Ezekiel 37:22. And I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel, and one king shall be king to them all, which is King David. And they shall be no more two nations. Now you understand what this means. They shall be no more two nations, because the kingdom was divided. And now the Lord is bringing them back. But all of them ain't going to come back, of course. Only the elect. Neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms anymore. See? There you go. So the Lord is bringing that brotherhood back. He broke it. Now he's mending it. Before we read on, let's go to Amos 9 and 11. And that day will I raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen. Right, because how did it fall? It fell after King Solomon went off. And it was split into two. You had Rehoboam, who had the southern kingdom. You had Jeroboam, which had the northern kingdom. From that point, up until this day, they've been divided. But in the division on these times, the Lord is making a mending, or bringing back together, and close up the breaches thereof. What are the breaches? The differences between the tribes. It says, and I will raise up his ruins and will build it as in the days of old. A very good scripture to go with this precept here is the book of Isaiah 61. That is the restructuring or rebuilding back of the nation of Israel. So going to Ezekiel, back here, let's read this again. 22. And I will make them one nation in the land of the mountains of Israel, and one king shall be king to them all, and they shall be no more two nations, neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms any more at all. Neither shall they defile themselves any more with their idols, because this is what did us in. Nor with their detestable things, nor with any other transgressions, but I will save them out of all their dwelling places wherein they have sinned, and will cleanse them. So shall they be my people, and I will be their power. All right, and you can read the rest of this. It's the few verses left. But this is a very important key chapter in prophecy. Ezekiel 37, the vision of the valley of dry bones, because this is the bringing back together of the nation of Israel. So with that, this has been another Back to the Basics, BTTB, the kingdom of Yasharahla divided. I pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified. Till the next time I say, Shalom.